So the theme for this weekend is Kokyu Nage. And Kokyu Nage it's a huge area in the Aikido curriculum. And it's basically the techniques, in English sometimes you call them projection techniques. Kokyu means breath, but in Japanese terminology it's much more than that. Kokyu refers to the concept of yin and yo, yin and yang. It refers to the dualistic concept that you find in Japanese cosmology. It refers to breathing, but it refers to the in and out breathing. And it basically refers to how you control your ki, and you channel your ki, and how you get it to mix and blend and harmonize with your partner. But it's a generic term that you use for these projection techniques. Not all of Kokyu Nage are actually throws. Some of them are actually holds. And you can basically say that the throws in Aikido that don't have names, you usually call Kokyu Nage. Tenshi Nage could easily be called a Kokyu Nage, and Kaite Nage could as well, in my opinion, just as well be called a Kokyu Nage. There are thousands of them. It's basically just a way of improvising, but using the principles, body movement principles of Aikido. But there are also groups within the Kokyu Nage. And that's what I'm going to try to touch on throughout this seminar, as well as these sort of standalone techniques that are also part of Kokyu Nage. Now, what we're doing in Kokyuho is a Kokyu Nage. The technique we're doing is Moro Todori Kokyu Nage. Kokyuho means method. That means you're focusing. You're using that given technique to focus on the principles of Kokyu, of ki projection, of connecting, of awase, all those things. The technique we're actually doing is Kokyu Nage. And you find that form of throw in basically any given attack. It's one of the big groups of Kokyu Nage. Some teachers call those throws Kokyuho. And in a way, it's, I didn't really hear Saito Sensei calling anything else other than this Kokyuho. Once he started doing the other forms, he called them Kokyu Nage. And it's, again, if you say Kokyuho, it's because you're practicing the focus on the method of Kokyu, whereas if you're doing the technique, you're focusing on the technique. So if we take that as beginning in this sense, okay, make it nice once. So, just to sort of show what I'm going to try to focus on in this weekend seminar. The one way of throwing Kokyu Nage is this way. There's another large group that is based on going into this position and throwing down. There's another large group that is based on going in and throwing this way. And there's another large group that is based on getting an elbow and throwing this way. There's another large group that is based on going this way. So those are large groups of Kokyu Nage that you'll find that you can use from, if not all, then most of the attacks that we have. And today I'm going to be basing our techniques on grabs, and tomorrow I'll be doing them more from strikes. So if we start from the Kokyu Nage form, if you go further and take any grab from here, katate, you'll have the same. One of the basics. If you go down the row of attacks, if you start from here, that gives you, the only way is to get into that technique. So we're going to start from here and move down. Starting from here to here. If there's room to throw, throw. If not, no. So your first will come from Hakadori. Okay? And you can move down to Sogedori. That one you can come in here. Sogedori, bring the arm in here. Sogeguchi same. And katakado. It's all based on, one, bringing the feet into the position that you use in Kokyuho, and then using that position to turn your hips and throw. And it's based on throwing with this movement of the hand. So with your partner, go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you can do one on each side, do the same with your partner, move down, one on each side. Partner does the same. And move through those 4 techniques. Around and then keeping. You can do that, but her arm is sort of free to move away if you're not getting the grip. So I recommend coming around and controlling that as you go. So the principle is, in this technique, is to get to standing in this position on the outside of your partner's hanmi, the same hanmi as your partner, and to do this to your partner. That's the general, the 2 requirements for doing this form of Kokyunage, Kokyuho form of Kokyunage. And the question is to learn how to get there from any given attack. Now if we continue with Ryotedoi, there are 2 versions here. This hand is doing, the inside hand is doing exactly what we did with katakado. But the second hand has 2 possibilities, inside or outside. So we'll do the inside first. That means outside hand, inside. And then you start to move, and you can use both arms. You need to move this one too. Contact, and you come in and throw. Mark this position because you'll be able to see that's the way you use your hand. In general, Zanshin, the final position you use, in my opinion, the way I've seen Saito Sensei is that the final position when your opponent lets go, you should keep that position. You don't have to go into another position from there. This also indicates that how you've used your hand, if you've used it correctly. So, the inside one, here, take his grip away from his center, bring it into your center here, step in. Remember, you're stepping in at an angle. And the second version, outside, hand outside. Here, same thing happens. You're using your hand on the outside of your partner. So, inside, and outside, hand outside. Right? Now we're working on double grabs in this case. So we'll do your kata first. Right? So this one has a little bit of a special entrance. I'm going out to my basic taisabaki, which I use for omote techniques in general. And then from there, I want to get to my Kokyuho standing position over there. In order to do that, I need to make an open here by using my hips, arms, and shoulders. And then I step in under his arm. I need to be under this front arm. And from there, lift up. This has an interesting cultural story to it, because when you were translating for Saito Sensei, when Sensei taught this technique, he would say, "Okina banzai suru." Do a big banzai. Now, in Japanese, banzai literally means the emperor should live for 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I think it is. But that meaning has just left. It basically just means hooray. So you say banzai when something good has happened. It's just sort of a happy word. But in foreign countries, it carries a little bit of weight from the Second World War. So it's a little bit difficult translating in Europe when Sensei wanted to say that. I think most people got it, but it was still sort of a little bit of a touchy area. But it's an example of words that basically just sort of lose their actual context and gain just a general context of something that's really at home. So come in here, we come around, and lift the arms up, and go. So again, I can see some people are still getting confused in terms of foot placement. And quite often you end up in Taino Henko instead of the Kokyuho foot position in these techniques, especially this one. So please remember that the basic form is you want to get your feet into the Kokyuho standing position next to your partner. So when you come in here, you have to think that you want to get to this position here. There are some exceptions, I'm going to show them afterwards, but in general, on 90% or more you have of the techniques you have to get there. This has also a sort of branch off, which I want to bring in, which is what also often happens is people, instead of stepping over the ice, step forward. And in that case, you step back and use that as a throw. You either do 2 steps back or just 1. So you're going to the side here, and doing the turn, you're stepping in front of your rear leg. Okay? Now from here, you can just turn your hip, and from there bring this front arm around and throw. Or you can bring the leg back here and throw, and then possibly step in. I've seen it done 2 ways. The short one to me feels like the most, because I'm already stable here, so I stay on that front leg. So be aware that there are 2, and remember the 2, and do the one that is shown by the sensei that you're training under, so you're doing the same one. Okay? But remember there are 2 versions. Do the short one today. So that was a little branch of version of Kokyuho form of Kokyunage from Ryo-Kata. We've been through all the basic grabbing attacks except Munadori. I didn't bring Munadori in, but that would basically be the same. I would treat that as a Katadori. In that case, I would still feel that I need to use the second hand, just as in Katadori. But that's the only one that I didn't bring into. Otherwise, Kata, Sodeguchi, Katate, Aihami, Katate, Ryotedori, Morotedori, and Ryokatedori. Just to explain a little bit of the theory I was talking about, 90% or more of these Kokyuho form of Kokyunage are based on standing this way. There are cases where you're standing like this, where you have to, it's usually from Ushiro. We'll be doing Ushiro tomorrow if we get around to it. Just to show you, in this case, there's one that goes this way. So I'm actually standing in the opposite hand, and as I go up, I step back. And the same for Ryoke, Ushiro Ryoke. You can do one, it's the same thing, where you do the opposite stance. But there are a few exceptions there. And I hope we get to Ushiro techniques tomorrow. I want to continue here because this is the basic form of the Kokyuho-like version of throwing. Now if we go back to Morotedori and we go into this position here, then there are a lot of Kokyunage that are based on that. And this one has a derivative where you come around and continue around one more rotation here. Since there's not room now, this is based on the Taino Henko form, as if raising a sword. And the first one, you can just take a step through the fall, which probably isn't fall. Otherwise, just stop there. And then, when he puts that foot forward and stops, this one can be used if your partner hasn't quite fallen yet. Then you continue around and push forward with this one. So there are 2 variations of the same technique. Direct throw. Direct throw plus extra rotation. This has an equivalent in Kataka Dojo construction. And exactly the same. Coming from Taino Hiko. And then you can also include extra circle here. Sometimes you see this taught with the hand in this position. Here. If you're using the Tegatana version, you can sort of easily lose the grip. So you have to work on keeping the partner's grip as you go. You're using the Tegatana form, or here, using the Taino Hiko form with the hand makes it a little bit easier for them to hold. It's a little bit less risky, but losing the grip. I've seen both done. I would say the basic is still with the Tegatana form. It's basically the same. Cut down for the basic, cut down, and one extra half for the variation. So this form requires your uke has a grip on your hand or arm in order to do that. In Ryoku, you might be able to come in here, get this hand free. So an inside entrance would allow you to do that. So stepping in the inside here, getting out of this grip, and then put down here. So you're entering in inside here. Free yourself from here, and then you've got this grip here. You could also go from the inside and get the grip here, either one. If you get the grip, then you're going to he's either going to have to do a high fall, or you're going to have to let go, otherwise he's going to get a nasty fall. I'm not going to throw it from here. That would be for you to take care of, and you know your partner is okay. So that will be it. But in order to, he's keeping the grip here. And so inside entrance through your partner's front. Yeah. And you could, from Aihan, because I'm going, you could also get into the same. I've never seen it done, but it keeps the basic principles. You're in a situation where you can't move over there because you're doing multiple attacks. So you can decide and from here. I haven't seen Cyprus and take a look at it. The basic principle is the same. If I saw that done in a test, I wouldn't So, just for the thing is, he has an empty hand there, so you don't want to stand here while you're thinking about what to do. It would definitely be based on getting out of the way and going under the arm.